Man is never defeated by his foes, but only by his own thoughts. The stories his mind has created about himself and his life and the world around himself. Assumptions to the universe and the meanings it is placed on people, events, time, and space, let alone his success and failures. Man's worst enemy is the insidious and tyrannical nature of his own mind. But once conquered, mind becomes your greatest weapon. Welcome back, everyone. This is Sethikus Boza, Black Earth Productions, Blue Flame, Healing Arts, and Occult Science here with another segment with the platform and with the Mystery School. Until our world came into the Ascension cycle, made counterfeits on a psyop, mainly through the New Age movement. All the shit that I'm observing to contrast the real Ascension cycle and what's required in action still continues to persist with those that still cannot see beyond the things that they need to in order to know the difference. It is to note that nothing that has been implemented with the New Age movement, let alone religion, has worked. It just keeps individuals pacified to a spiritual welfare program that never delivers what it promises. Let alone does anything in the secular mainstream's narrative deliver what it promises. In fact, all of that shit is the cause point on top of everything else, the overlays and distortions that preceded what unfolded before 9/11, let alone the dark spellcast that went off in 2020. All of this goes back to a very, very ancient dark ritual that was enacted in ancient times to manifest what it did in 2020. I've addressed everything in terms of Divok AI. All of this should have already been a major fucking wake-up call. But as I have observed, the world still operates as it has. And because most do not know the occult proper knowledge and wisdom necessary, it's for those of you that know the difference and that have come on to support Black Earth Productions, taken initiation into the Mystery School. And as you continue to embark initiation, if you were not axed from network, and are those that are transcending these things and getting the results in your life otherwise. My life is proof, your lives are proof. And it is to state at the beginning of this segment that we have reached a critical nexus point of 2023, which the artificial intelligence crystalline grid works that attune the spike matrix to all of the false grids and overlays are fired up in our fucking faces. We have not seen the full effect as to the cause of everyone that consented the needlecraft. To all of this, it is to note that CERN is back engineered dark Atlantean AI wormhole technology. And as a part of all of this, with other minor AI technologies that are designed to jam up and scatter the radar of mind, targeting the nervous system and to drive mind control even deeper and harder. If you're in a major city, you're in the worst fucking place you can be in terms of everything I'm getting at. And this is why, let alone on the outskirts like I am, you must be in a ritual daily. These agendas are not going to stop, and all are designed to hold back the highest frequencies of awareness and consciousness that we need to be in connection with at our core intelligence in order to cross these thresholds to the procession of the grand cycle, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and temporally speaking. Everyone listening right now could have mastered certain areas I just mentioned, which is good. But if you're struggling in any of these areas, then you need to step it the fuck up. And unless all 5 areas are in flow as you stand as the pentacle within the circle of the magician, there is still more that you need to do and make happen to manifest the alignment in terms of your life. All of us have work to do in all of these areas, and it's why we are here. It is why we are alive, and it's why we must be networking and communicating even harder than we ever have before. There's going to be different points of view. There's going to be multiple references and a lot of things that you, the listener, may or may not know. But in ancient times, even as it is known, the gates to true intelligence coding that contained within the original teaching and how I have been guided to explain things to assist members of the ancient Syrian Alfarian High Council to guard and preserve the sacred proper knowledge and wisdom to not only benefit our own lives, but for the future benefits of the earth itself. At this point, when it comes to a lot that has not only been presented on Black Earth Productions, I've always said this, that this is not for everybody. It's for those to whom it's meant. At the same time, the birthright does belong to everyone, even if they don't fully understand the shit that I'm here to inform with you. There is that spark that holds within you saying, there must be something to all of this. And far too many still don't get it in context to mind. See, when I speak, I'm not speaking to your programming. I'm not speaking to your overlays. I'm not speaking to your woundedness. I'm not speaking to the distortions. None of that shit. When I speak here on the platform, I'm speaking to your eternal spirit and your fucking soul. And the reason why some of you out there are still not getting it is because you still don't know why reality has been manipulated in the fashion that it's been, assuming all of this is just how things are, even when proper knowledge and wisdom reveals itself otherwise. You go totally and fully into willful ignorance and apathy to these things in context to truth. Now, granted, again, we're all coming from our points of reference and experience and levels of knowledge and templating and codex, let alone ignorance. But regardless of this, to take it from where I have come to, those who are assembled in the ancient Syrian Alfarian High Council that are primarily a part of the eternal collective consciousness lineages of the Blue Flame, Magi, Grail, Shaman, all of you must let the Gnostic and Christian narratives the fuck go. All of this, to proper knowledge and wisdom, goes back to something even more ancient that is present and awakening within the codes as I speak. It's been happening since 2017, and it's going to continue to happen moving into 2025 and 2028. None of that shit's going to work for what's coming, as I've said. And those that still bring those things to table are still locked down in a grave deception, period. If you're still doing this, then you don't know the game of the Watchers fully yet still. And I'm going to slam this as hard as I can here. All of it. Everything in context to do with the New Age movement, Christianity, Gnosticism, Judaism, Islam. I'm going to throw Satanism in there, dark Luciferianism, and all this other shit are all the branches of an inverted dark agenda to rake out and twist the world into the poison tree of the clip-off, reflected Kabbalah. All of you are still caught in context and around the goddamn fucking Ouroboros you go, you dumb fucks. This is how the slivers of parchments that most of you have looked into when it comes to these things, especially in context of the occult, have been used against you, appropriated in terms of the dark priest class that played both sides of the equation of the true evil and the false cold light. They played both sides of the goddamn fucking inverted triangulated equation that really started to spring forth since before, and especially the 19th dynasty of Kemet in terms of positions within the triangulations of dark sorcery. It's also the note that the timeline the public has been given to all of this is far more ancient than the timeline that you've been given from their libraries. Their libraries do not access Aminte itself, the true Hall of Records, let alone the things that I've shared in terms of the Black Earth Library when it comes to the Mystery School. Know this, that they have created nothing. All they can do is manipulate, twist, and invert everything in terms to their own ends, as they always did. They are not in service to truth, let alone mankind. In fact, they fear and loathe us. They slander at any given point, exposing themselves for who they are, and despise those who actually align to truth, especially those that are holders of the true codex and context to the true keepers of the blue flame. And I am a keeper of the blue flame in terms of the mysteries. And in context, I am a Blu-ray Indigo, here to remind all of you everything I'm getting at otherwise. So note it. We as individuals act as primary archivists of not only Earth's vast genetic library and occult timeline histories, but through the process of our own rites of initiation into consciousness embodiment to the codes that are activated through the rites of initiation in order to remember. This proper knowledge and wisdom was compiled upon master copies and are known as the original founder records in terms. And I have access then in context to Aminte. They have nothing to do with the emerald tablets of Thoth. That's a major part of their counterfeit in terms, the Thothian sect specifically. And see, I'm not even saying that there isn't truth held within the emerald tablets, but you have to see how things have been appropriated. You think it's just fucking religion? No, it's organized occultism. It's all these goddamn fucking secret societies that everyone still assumes that they have all the fucking proper knowledge and wisdom, and they fucking don't. Those that are held within the triangulation that plays both sides of the equation are still locked down into the Watcher's game. And you have to know where all of these things actually come from. You have to do research and study. You've got to go deeper than you have ever gone, even up until this point. You think that you have arrived? None of you have arrived. None of us have reached that point. And there's proper knowledge and wisdom and still greater things that are going to be revealed to what was appropriated and hijacked to thus use against mankind. But as to the original records, which contain the basis for describing the consciousness mechanics and the occult psychology of reality and how things actually work in truth. Things in terms of manifestation, high magic, and the unification of all expressions in terms of the higher force. This codex includes extremely advanced technological information about the human vessel and its true capabilities and its connection to the original grids and the planetary Templar stargates themselves. It's everything to do with grid works. It's everything to do with ley lines and unto the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms, texts and schematics and maps and blueprints that are outlined within the consciousness of true freedom teachings that unify all sacred hard sciences with the physics and metaphysics of true spirituality at the 5 points of the pentacle star as you stand within the fulcrum of the circle of the magician, and is where we stand here on earth among mankind. Now going again back to ancient Kemet via Egypt, and have in terms of my actual templating that knows the difference. It is to note again that certain individuals who incarnated as the alleged Egyptian priests and priestesses that assumed and betrayed the office of Tahuti in context to Thoth. This happened repeatedly during the time that the ancient Atlantean mystery schools were flourishing within the days of the Middle Kingdom, which preceded the Inyani massacre over 26,000 to 50,000 years ago. It's explained in the Magi, Grail, Shaman, Betrayal of Thoth, and Rise of Asar segments. I'm not here to argue when this happened. The fact is that it did. And we as humanity, as individuals that know the difference, as I continue to observe what I do in the world and in network, need to truly know the importance of the hour that we are in and get focused in terms of action and manifestation. And to the contrast that we are all dealing with, again, was in order to systematically drive throughout the centuries to our present moments, maintain control through the dark Atlantean conspiracy agendas, which have been held by the Dark Brotherhoods and Sisterhoods in all of their branches in terms of the inverted tree since the most recent cataclysm. Look at the divide that is taking place in terms of mind being colonized and set in opposition with itself, especially now in terms of identity. That's what the fuck the world is dealing with right now, a massive identity crisis. See, look, you still don't fucking get it. This is why. And all the issues that we deal with as mankind are first psychological. It's psychosomatics. And if you don't know your own psychology, let alone cosmic law and what it reveals and how things actually work, to know thyself, you are completely fucked in this world. It doesn't matter what your alleged status is to the temporal existence. It doesn't matter what your physical prowess is. All of those things are important. I'm not bypassing anything. But what's even more important is that we need to be aware of the ongoing alliance missions for those that know the difference. And at this point, we need to be standing our ground, something fierce in the face of everything that works to be implemented otherwise. And we that I am among here on ground level in terms of the blue flame. That is my position. This has nothing to do with alien factions or angels or fucking demons or whatever the fuck people want to assume to the new age claptrap, organized occultism, fucking bullshit that has nothing to do with this platform or this mystery school. I've already transcended this shit. This is not my truth either. No, this is the truth. And the true blue flame in terms is here on ground level. And that is the basis of the mystery school and what it also represents. Taking this the fuck back and reinstituting all of these things into the earth again as it was. Pre-fall timeline, proper knowledge and wisdom. I am taking things back to the original. I am taking things back onto the original timeline trajectory that humanity was ripped away from. Again, for those to whom it's meant. And it's to state that Thoth in context is the great dark Luciferian imposter otherwise. And it was Thoth to these specific types that appropriated the great hermetic fundamentals and principles to use against mankind instead of it being common knowledge and wisdom in terms of proper education, along with many other things to these arts and sciences that I teach with the mystery school. But as it were, for those that crave power over principle and honor, there were certain priests and priestesses that were passing off Emerald Order founder records and still do in order to manipulate, twist, and invert the sacred sciences that the true records of Amente contain. You're still dealing with parchments. You still don't get it. And all of these things being used in the convoluted ways in terms of demonstrations and bullshit teaching to gain followers for their own alleged high initiation levels, some having purported to be flame keepers when they have not fully attained the actual rites of initiation to even be in that fucking position. You need to be aware of these things because I paid the fucking price. I didn't even necessarily want to be doing this with my fucking life because I knew that there would be so many fucking people out there that would turn against the things that I'm being prompted to say. I'm calling all of you out right now in this segment. If any of you even knew the difference, you would also know this. You would know the things that I'm speaking about. And at the height of their lifetimes prior to Kemet, about 1,000 years after the Sumerian Egyptian invasion, even though they came to a level of being able to access the 11th gate in context to 11th dimensional consciousness, they did not complete the actual initiation in terms. And as a result, it only appeared on the surface to other high priests and priestesses in ancient Kemet that they were getting bestowed with a position as Emerald Order regents to oversee and direct blue flame initiations within the pyramids and all of the underground temples. But see, instead, the Thothians, in context to these individuals, were committing a grave deception to those that trusted them as Emerald Order representatives to transmit blue flame frequency for the purpose of initiation into the Diamond Sun Codex and 12-strand DNA regenesis in terms of the true universal tree of life. All of it has been made counterfeit, is my point. And what happened to Thoth in context is that they originally sourced from the Watchers themselves via the Svartalfar in terms of the Sumerian Draconian Empire, which was created after the most recent cataclysm as the sub-region to implement their total takeover, enslaving and dominating the human races. This again is the crux of the procession and why everything laying under the surface of reality has been firing up and rising to the surface to be dealt with. The moment that they assumed that they were genetically superior to the original Tarian Alfarian humans. When they assumed this, they who were leading these idiots down a very dark and twisted path in absolute violation of cosmic law, even though they were able to ascend to the position of the middle layers of the 11th dimension, the embodiment of the 11 and a half active DNA strands is all they're able to work with. They do not have access to anything in terms of proper knowledge and wisdom that is beyond this, and I've already transcended this. It was at that point that they made the choice to betray the birthright of mankind and make alliance with the fallen Anu race lines to set forth the genetic superiority agendas to genetically modify humanity, also by strategically aligning with the Weezer invaders, which in terms to the Nordic tradition all goes back to the old ones in context. You do not know how ancient all of this actually is. And it's right in your faces right now in terms of the procession. That is exactly what we are dealing with in terms of the contrast and the agendas. It's the same goddamn fucking playbook. That's all they have. But we have an opportunity right now to catch it, to see it for what the fuck it is, and track back onto the original timeline trajectory in terms of manifestation, mastery of our existence here in Midgard. The matter-form body we have embodied in terms of incarnation was tampered with in terms of our ancestors, even to the same ancient agendas that unfolded in 2020 in terms of the grand cycle. It is to note that regardless of this, those of us that are template holders and all of you out there that are becoming potential stewards, we hold, as far as template holders, the ability to show you how to tap the original technology that all of us need to be working with in order to pull things into alignment. And there is one Alfarian human speaking to you in terms right now. Tara is the true origin of the current prototype for the human tribes on Earth. Again, like I've said, everything hails the great north of Udenma. This has already been confirmed. And all of this, in order to gain access, goes back first to connection with the higher force in terms of protocol teaching, knowing how things work and moving then into proper knowledge and wisdom to navigate sound, consciousness, energy, frequency, and vibration to the first spiral creation of initiation. The Alfarian human prototype that existed to Tara was incredibly genetically advanced and was designed to embody and hold all of the universal genetic libraries and codex in terms of the true universal tree of life and full potentials of the true light body codex. It's also why the entire human race was targeted in terms of all of these dark agendas with the needlecraft to the hour that we are in to prevent crossing these thresholds onto the original timeline in order to keep this concealed and humanity enslaved as they have been, as well as not have directed communication links within their core intelligence, let alone the celestial management structures in terms of the galactic spiral creation when it comes to soul code genetics. Again, this is about genetics and consciousness, everyone. Not all of your alien, disincarnate, savior program bullshit that is no better than any other fucking religion out there in context. We are here to master being human and bring things back into alignment as human. Ascension happens here. It happens here where you stand. And in all worlds and universes and terms, we are here on Earth. What the fuck are you thinking in terms of any sort of escapism into another fucking realm? You still don't get it. And during the ending evolutionary cycles on Tara, in terms of the solar spiral creation, before the Orion Wars that led up to all of these conflicts that erupted with the Dark Melchizedek factions, they were the Watchers' puppets, and they are still the Watchers' puppets, who desire lordship over the spiritual power of the blue flame itself. Fuck you, motherfuckers. Fuck you. And for those that hail the blue sword of Archangel Michael, not knowing the difference, all of that is to the Watchers in terms of their counterfeit grid works of consciousness. Those that don't get it still don't know the game in terms of how they play all sides of the triangulation inversion equations to these cheap counterfeits, grid works of consciousness within a closed loop system to the geometrics of Metatron. And without truly, and I mean truly knowing cosmic law to the law of correspondence, otherwise, let alone the true occult history in terms of cosmology, you will continue to assume that all of this is something outside of yourself that needs to be transcended. What have I stated? All is within. This is an interdimensional situation, not an extraterrestrial. It's interdimensional in terms of the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms. Anyone that has bought that narrative, that has co-signed that shit, you've all been fucking tricked. And you need to be aware of the trickster in context of Loki and Gulveg. Again, all is within you. It's within us. And some that decided to appoint themselves as quote-unquote keepers of the flame in terms of a major misappropriation. As these alleged flame keepers approaching the thresholds, all of you are going to be exposed. Everything is going to be exposed. It's being exposed as I speak. And not at the point of slander, but to make clear the difference between the true original teaching versus that which is not, so that things can be course corrected. And as I've said, everyone's still caught in their grid works that correspond from the sixth dimension of consciousness down to its point of manipulation, physically speaking. This is why the seventh gate must be accessed unto the nine and also breach the eighth gate that was compromised. Accessing the wand of fire in terms of the energy force of the Jedi itself. And it's all these dark groups that experimented with directing their counterfeit staff of the flame to its manipulation to achieve certain objectives that 100% contradict what they even claim to fucking represent. Again, this happened a long time ago, but in terms, you still don't get it. I've taken all of this back with the mystery school that's been created to the true rites of initiation that are required to even know the difference in context to actual fucking alignment. I don't care what you've experienced as a child. I don't care what you've experienced in terms of past life when it comes to ancestors. I don't care what you've been drawn to over the years for whatever reason. Again, without proper knowledge and wisdom to even know the difference to focus, you're not going to be able to navigate anything that you are experiencing without the proper foundation, let alone know how to navigate all of these things that are going on otherwise that you still can't see. Thinking that you know, and you're still caught within the fifth cycle, closed loop timeline gridworks of the dark Atlantean AI crystalline Syrian B timeline trajectory. And as I have personally taken the rites of initiation, the aeons. Okay? It's been the aeons for me. In terms of my eternal spirit to soul code, blood code templating, held accountable by the higher force, councils themselves, let alone others I trust here on earth to get it. These other types that are counterfeit often utilize planned strategic methods in order to gain nothing but power and influence over your mind, and do not condone you actually question a goddamn thing they are even saying, let alone teaching. I don't do that shit. You can take what the hell I say or leave it. It's no consequence to me otherwise. These people also still have entities riding their consciousness in terms to these factions that are set against mankind. They think that they're for mankind, but they're really a part of these agendas, not knowing the fucking difference. And you need to be aware of those that consult lesser entities in terms. This we do not condone with the mystery school. Why the fuck are you consulting lesser entities that, again, don't have the fucking sand or the balls to fucking incarnate and master being human? You have your own eternal spirit to work with here. You're meant to be working with it. That's the point. And that's what they don't want you to know. You need to know that they know the mind and how to manipulate it far beyond what you can comprehend, not knowing the difference. That's why you must come to know what mind actually is and why you don't know how your own mind operates. They don't give a fuck about you. And they only use others to gain clout without establishing any true connections like I have with every single person that has taken initiation to the mystery school, that has been for real. I've had a lot of fucking crazy shit happen, but I've been tracking and I'm not going to quit and I'm not going to give up and I'm not going to give up on anybody else out there that knows the fucking difference. All of you that have had my back as I've had yours, public on Black Earth Productions, and also in terms of life in general. This is why I teach in the way that the ancients did, one-on-one with individuals. And I'm not against putting out knowledge and information. Obviously, I am right now, as I have otherwise. But I'm speaking about actual initiation into the occult, into the secret, hidden knowledge that has been kept from you on purpose, so that you can start de-occulting things for yourselves. And for those that do not actually know what the word occult means. It means hidden or secret knowledge. It doesn't mean evil. It means hidden or secret knowledge. In fact, the only proper knowledge and wisdom that exposes evil for what it really is the true occult, proper knowledge and wisdom revealed far beyond the sliver, the tiny, tiny little fucking sliver in terms of the dark occult, to what was not only taken from us to know the difference, but what they really don't want you to know. This is about the truth. And like I was saying, these types who are playing on your mind and your codes and your fears and your hopes and your virtues, your assumptions being utilized, they don't give a fuck about you. You're fucking fodder in their cauldron. And everyone right now is still caught within the dark Atlantean fifth cycle feedback loop to its programming. The seventh gate must be accessed beyond the triangulations happening within the sixth dimension of consciousness in terms of step down and step through frequency. Everybody out there hailing the fifth dimension, you got your heads up your fucking asses. You still don't get it. 5G, 5D, you fucking morons. And the things that I teach and the things that I reveal show an individual how to actually transcend all of this on ground level in context to your specific templating as an individual, specific to your genetics, specific to your codex. We are here to align our destiny and eventually come together knowing who the fuck we are. And that is what the point is, to gain the leverage necessary in all 5 areas that I have explained that we need to be mastering in order to make this happen as it's meant to. But if you really don't know who the fuck you are, this is only going to end up being a superficial thing to programming you operate in context to controlled opposition. And I see all of you for who the fuck you are. There is no grid work of consciousness I cannot access, held within and without the 3 spirals of creation, the solar, the galactic, and the universal. There are things that I know that I have not presented on Black Earth Productions. There are things that I know that have been revealed to me that I am keeping for the proper time to release and reveal to individuals that are ready, and how deep it actually goes beyond your current perception and process, let alone the actions you are taking in life. I know how deep it goes because I've already transcended it, standing still here within the earth realm, living life, truly sovereign, truly empowered. And see, another thing I want to address is that the 6th dimensional wingmakers of the inverted patriarchal dark Melchizedek factions violated everything to agreements, and through their lust for power, to which the Watchers took the seed of men, to seduction and slaughter. All of this would put any fucking horror movie ever created to absolute and total fucking shame. Again, everything in terms of the 6th dimension of consciousness into 5D, into 4D, right on into 3D has been compromised in terms of triangulation factors. Abuse ensued when they unleashed the seeding and birthing of the dark gods in through the lower astral abyss, all directed by the Dark Sisterhood and context to the cult of Baal Lilith, all directed in course to all of these inverted forces in terms of black magic, going back to when magic became corrupt and was used for these things as a weapon to infiltrate the Egyptian Sirius culture on Tara, which led up to the Orion Wars and ultimately to the Inyani massacre in terms of the original Alfarian humans, let alone the destruction of Maldek, to also the most recent cataclysm on Earth. And see, knowing about all of these things, regardless to the post-fall knowledge timeline trajectory, I'm tracking on the original teaching in terms of the pre-fall timeline trajectory. And it is to know that above all else, our focus is the higher force, knowing the difference, and is more important than anything else out there, establishing connection to the true core essence, the gates of true intelligence. And it's to note that there is nothing that we cannot overcome standing in our place of alignment. In terms of the Egyptian seer and seeress human tribes that acted as the rod and staff holders of the true divine masculine force and seed that synthesized the unity codes between all of the tribes, hold the universal tribal shield in terms of the universal laws of metaphysics and the eternal axioms to cosmic law. This power grab made by the patriarchal dark Melchizedeks was driven again by the dark sisterhoods who seduced them into this. And this goes to the Watchers that contributed the ultimate destruction of Tara, which was the original Earth realm that we were torn away from in terms of Idun, resting at a 23.4 degree out of alignment. Sealed off the gates. It sealed off the gate to your fucking core. It sealed off the gate to your process. It sealed off the gate to the ignition of your own eternal spirit. This is what they don't want you to access. This is what I teach how to access. And all of this other shit is disintegrating the alignment of the vertical blue flame staff codes. And now you know a little bit more of what the fuck is actually going on here, not only in terms of what I've experienced, but what this platform represents. I'm a Blu-ray Indigo, here to remind you, speak forth from the 15th dimension to those to whom it's meant, and to reinstitute the real in terms of the power of the blue flame when it comes to 15th dimensional consciousness into the reality field as it was and is to the original timeline trajectory. In terms of the state and condition of the world as it stands now in 2022, going into 2030, the reinstitution of the original ancient teaching on a major modern upgrade as individuals is 100% necessary in terms of our lives here on Earth and the alignment of the will of creation itself. That is one of the major keys in terms of incarnation and in terms of the Nordic tradition, which I've stated is the most ancient mythos that has lasted the ages. Nothing has been attacked more, let alone exonerated, misrepresented, misinterpreted, and undermined for far too long. This is not about race. This is about the truth and the true occult mysteries and context that one can explore for the rest of their existence, let alone the animist tradition of every race, tribe, and culture going well into prehistory. And see, that's why you're all over the place. What is your actual alignment in terms of your templating, in terms of your codex, in terms of your ancestors? See, when I speak for myself in honor to truth, in as much about who we are in terms of our past or our current present experiences, reveal roots that ultimately cannot be broken, especially in terms of actual activation of an individual's eternal spirit to blood code, soul code, genetic disposition. And when I say soul codes in context to the 3 spirals of creation, this is to the galactic spiral. Again, until humanity learns to remember that the heavens above are within us, we're not going to evolve. Many of you out there are into this kind of shit, but you couldn't even tell me how to navigate the solar spiral. You don't even know what the fuck that is. That's where you need to start in terms of the proper foundation. Knowing your template, know thyself. Know your heritage. Know the histories, the occult histories, and in terms of the broad patterns that are expressed and that are revealed in the Nordic mythos, its gauge and what's been revealed and the things that have been perceived well beyond the surfaces and assumed interpretations that have been presented over the centuries, while at the same time not negating where certain things are coming from. Each of us are going to be better if we fill in some of the material ourselves in terms of our template. That's the point, which is the point of what I'm going to be doing with this specific segment. And there is no group of symbols that so quickly suggest interpretation or are more stimulating to the Magi nation and ingenuity of those that know what the fulcrum of the circle of the magician actually reveals to those who seek it. There are different soul groups here on Earth, each specializing in specific areas of consciousness, who have a distinct purpose and contribute their unique skill set towards our evolution, including what I do in terms of the physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and temporal areas that we are all working to master in terms of our existence. And out of all of the soul groups that exist, the Blu-ray are the most misunderstood, and things in terms of themes that attribute the Blu-ray consciousness spectrum of the primal sound fields are directly connected to power and to healing. We are not from any one source of origin in terms of the galactic spirals of creation, genetic disposition to soul codes. Our template reaches well beyond the galactic spirals of creation, and it goes much higher and deeper in terms of the law of correspondence, grid works of consciousness, and we have incarnated from that which is well beyond the veils that most are aware of at best. The higher vibrational forms of light, the true light, that sprang forth the primal sound fields themselves. How we get our name is because of our dominant frequency and its vibration within the blue ray of creation. And we have a dominant blue aura, which is directly connected to the primal sound fields themselves. Hence, again, the blue flame, healing arts, and occult science when it comes to the mystery school. This frequency of consciousness deals in very, very high levels of awareness in terms to this. And we have a very strong sense of the true occult history as I've known it since I was a child in this life, and are connected in terms of records that reveal this in terms of what I have been sharing. The esoteric phenomenon that permeates our reality is commonplace with our kind, though mysterious and often even terrifying to those that don't know these things. It's important to know that there is no reason to fear. There is no reason to be afraid. I don't want any of you to be in fear, but to know why we are here in terms of our templating and fitting into the world's constructs and terms is something that does not coincide with our template. There's a sense of wisdom that pulls us, and we are hyper aware of things on a multidimensional level. And it's taken me a long, long time to be able to navigate, let alone articulate these things as to the purpose of the mystery school, even as to the intensity of how I deliver with those, again, to whom it's meant. I am well aware of the many evils in our world. I've even explored my potential in terms of the ultimate evil. And if you haven't explored your potential, or even assume that you're not capable, and you have not integrated, and you have not done the true shadow work necessary in order to breach that point of the internal dragon awakening. Not only have I seen that, but I've seen my true potential embracing, contrary, the potential of the template that is there within my core. And I've come to a place of being more aware of what is beyond all of this bullshit as to my focus when it comes to the higher force, and what the real message is in terms of exposing not only evil for what the fuck it is. I would say that we have a refined fierceness in terms of what we have experienced here on Earth, and also in terms of my memory, going through the process of initiation in context to ancestors. And not only do we have the ability to access any grid work of consciousness that exists, we are not limited to any few specific grid works. There is no grid work of consciousness that I cannot access. I state that claim boldly and in full confidence in terms of who the fuck I am. This is also why it's such a challenge to navigate, let alone embody, the template, navigating consciousness to these things, which becomes very specific in terms of our individual trajectories. The vibration, it's subtle, but extremely high at the same time. And in order for anyone to actually access proper knowledge and wisdom at this level is truly a gift. And is to not be taken for granted, and is to not be taken as slight as these things are being expressed from the core of who the fuck I am. Some have the gift, but as with most, it has to be earned. Even if you have the gift, you have to earn the right in order to wield it, and wield it correctly in alignment. And you will go through the trials. I'm talking about true purpose here. You have to want this. You have to want to go for it. And you've got to go for it all the way. Otherwise, what the fuck is the point? To go back in old patterns, old ways of living, and all this bullshit. You have to fucking fight. You have to be relentless. We need to be more terrifying than them, especially the divine masculine force that is now rising in our world in the face of all this fucking overlay and this fucking distortion. And anyone that does not care about higher consciousness and awareness, we as Blu-rays, in terms of my template, also suffer a gap in terms of language and knowledge with others in terms of communication. I speak in a different language. The way I live is completely contrary anything to the programming, and I am 100% sovereign to the rites of initiation and my alignment to my purpose, knowing who the fuck I am, having done a major portion of the real great work to reintegrate and know thyself. The very reason that it is wisdom leading this, as well as a heightened awareness in terms of energies, meaning the radar of mind is always lit up within my template, and it tends to clear out of the way things that are not in alignment. True intelligence can only exist in the presence of true care. True intelligence, in context of wisdom, can only exist in the presence of true care. And consciousness is a holistic process in terms of reality. The more hyper-aware someone is, the more capacity for true intelligence they have, but also the potential to be highly manipulated, as these gifts are often used against the blue rays in order to jam up the radar of awareness. But fuck you, motherfuckers. I'm not going to fucking relent. So here, the real work is required in terms. The blue ray's purpose for being here is to be the cause point for global healing through the art and science of the alchemical rites of initiation in terms of alchemy, both practically and spiritually. We are masters of transmutation, so naturally here to transmute the deepest and darkest portions of the third dimension, as well as the densest layers of this reality. We did not sign up for an easy incarnation. In fact, we take on more than the average individual could ever fucking imagine in terms of templating. That's why I am the way that I am. That's why I know what I know. That's why I am as passionate as I am, because it didn't just happen for no fucking reason. I'm not on here doing what I do for no reason. This templating is of the highest alchemical order in existence. We often deal with and have dealt with extreme contrast to our experience here on Earth, taken on the bloodlines that we have incarnated into in order to cleanse and purge the bloodline lineage. I did that in terms of my lineage, the Misa and Boza bloodline. And yeah, I've had to deal with high levels of quote-unquote persecution from others, as well as bizarre, let alone high levels of injustice and absolutely crazy supernatural shit and interface with stuff that nobody out there is even talking about yet. But all of this happens because the way the templating is configured. There is no grid work of consciousness I cannot access. Again, you will be like a moth to a flame, the blue flame in context. Fact is that we are despised, as we despise seeing others in pain and loathe the things that are the cause point for this. I told many of you out there what you're actually dealing with, and you're in denial. You're in denial of who you truly are. You're in denial of purpose. You don't know who the fuck you are. And our energy field is meant to transmit and transmute these things, in which the blue rays often get shade thrown upon them by others that don't know what the hell is actually going on in their presence. We are burning through the darkest layers of reality, just as indigos are drawn to expose the underbelly of what's happening within the matrix control grids. Fact is to all of this, this is what our energy field is designed to do. If you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself. This is not just to bring back individuals into the process recognition of their own soul and pull things back into alignment with the higher force. It's because of this we are able to magnetize experiences into our field that bring cruel and hostile projections from those around us. You want to step onto the front line? You want to be on the front lines of this fucking war? You can't even deal with what the fuck is happening in your own psyche. You can't even deal with what the fuck is happening in your own unit. You can't even deal with what the fuck is happening around you in the world. And you want to step onto the front line and think you're going to have a course of change in the fucking world, but you can't even get it together in your own backyard? You're full of shit. You're fucking lying. All of those things in terms of your life and your alignment will potentially position you as it has positioned you and others that have reached this level. There is no one area in my life that I have not mastered on a certain level. And things in terms of the dark ones and the lower forces they correspond with, and all sorts of unconscious behaviors and subtle cues that people are unaware of in terms of karmic patterns being triggered and rattled the fuck out by the power of the blue flame itself, what the consciousness of the blue ray actually emits. This is the only kind of template that can actually hold space for a certain amount of time to these things and does not excuse or justify any of it. Many have been given time. But once the boundary is drawn and once the gate's shut, that's it. And I too have experienced this with others that did not know fully what they were actually getting into here in terms. We have the capacity to connect well beyond all of this bullshit. That's what we need to be focused on. At the same time, being able to burn through all this bullshit, and you as an individual, whether you are a keeper like myself or becoming a steward for the future generations, you got to burn this shit out of your system to get the results required for healing and transcendence and uproot the densest energies held the inverted draconian AI timeline, and then be in the position to reconfigure the human template to the original template so that we can hold more capacity to higher levels of energy, let alone awareness and action, our physicality, our mental and emotional capacities, your spiritual capacity. You've been fucking limited. You've been cut off from what entails the birthright. I'm not responsible for anybody else's condition. You are responsible for your own fucking condition, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, let alone temporal. All of it is on you in terms of the template. And I've 100% experienced all of this, spoken against, misrepresented, because these individuals still don't get what the fuck is actually taking place in our world. What an opportunity. Our energy field, my energy field, will bring out the unconscious wounds that individuals have to deal with. What are you going to fucking do about it? I don't fucking care enough to be dragged into the fucking abyss. No, I'm going to give you proper knowledge and wisdom so that you can crawl the fuck out of the pit that you have dug for yourself. Whether you are aware of that or not, it's honestly extremely immature, let alone spiritually immature, since uncovering that level of denial and fragmentation in terms of the collective unconscious grid works, it's very, very fucking painful. But what have I said over and over again? That pain is one of the greatest teachers that you could ever hope to embrace to all areas that you are working to master in terms of your existence. Hell, I don't even have to necessarily do anything to trigger toxic motherfuckers out. My very presence in situations like that agitates a cleansing with them, and thank the gods that it does, because now I know the difference in terms of who the fuck you are, and there is nothing that is going to stop the cleanse and purge from happening. That's why you incarnated here on Earth, to the original purpose of incarnation. And the amount of actual true light codes that we emit in terms of the template are immense. You're only getting about 15% of my actual capacity activated the Ham Ramir in terms of my capacity at 100%. I know how to cloak myself like my ancestors did, the Tuatha De Danann, let alone to our environments, the region that we are in. We operate like the Ulfanar that we are, into the established systems of domination and control that have set themselves over the human races. This is what we are here to tear the fuck down, along with you, side by side. And because of this, because of who we actually are, demonized by those that are being ran and hooked in on by lesser entities. We are the sages. We are the wizards. We are the Galder, the ones that hold the codes of actual fucking redemption. Actual redemption of your soul. The way showers in terms to this. I'm not guiding you to myself. I'm guiding you back to you. You are responsible for your own redemption. There is no one coming to save you, but we can show you how to save yourself. We have the ability to transmute and alchemize the things that most humans have been conditioned to be afraid of. And because of this, most Blu-rays in terms go unseen. And this is one of the main blocks that the Blu-rays have to face in overcoming the tendency to play small or avoid being projected upon. I'm not going to play small. Go ahead and fucking project on me. I don't give a fucking shit. I'll cut through and crush anything that stands in the way of this trajectory. Nothing can stop it. You're not going to stop my soul. I continue and will continue to overcome. The man that you are listening to right now knows who he is. And I'm saying all of these things to solidify proper knowledge and wisdom so that you know the difference with me from here on out. And if that's an issue with anyone, then it's not my fucking issue. We don't have time to fuck around in terms of what is here and what is already coming. If we don't embrace our divine attributes as individuals, let alone those of us like myself that are Blu-ray indigos, that hail the blue flame, Magi, Grail, Shaman, templating, we take a risk of shutting down our abilities in order to fit in with those around us. I can't do that. I goddamn fucking refuse. I'm a man that does not live in fear, and I'm glad I finally surrendered the higher self in terms. All of this is real. And being at a high level of practice of alchemy when it comes to the alchemical rites of initiation. We're not just here to heal the ancestors and transmute and alchemize in terms of our codex. We are here to transmute the archetypes and consciousness to the new mythos within the collective psyche. Did you catch what I just fucking said? We are here to transmute the archetypes and context to the new mythos within the collective psyche. Do you know what it means to assume the archetype within the circle of the magician? There's Blu-rays in terms of every race, tribe, and culture. It isn't just my people. We are working to bring things back to the original timeline trajectory, and specifically in terms of this bullshit victim mentality that has plagued the feminine force, who, yes, at one time was tortured out of their magic in terms of what the Watchers did, and in terms of turning these types against men, including their own. This is why, if you have not already got the memo and context of what's been presented leading up to this segment, look at the fucking world. These things can't be refuted. And the men that hold this knowledge, let alone are keepers of the template, we are here to lead. We are here to work. We are here to raise the frequency of awareness and consciousness in the earth. And ironically, it's going out in terms of men that are catching this, knowing the difference in the face of all of this goddamn fucking contrast. And through this intrinsic wisdom of our higher knowing, blue rays are here to restore the balance that is needed in order to awaken connection with the higher force, healing the divine feminine, let alone the feminine energy within the collective. As I speak, in terms of the position of the divine masculine fucking force, and all of the major things that we are transmuting. Justice, being forsaken, being fucking betrayed, persecuted, all of the sorrow, all of that betrayal, all of that fucking torture, which requires in context an actual soul retrieval, where the individual is consciously retrieving information surrounding the trauma, while at the same time having an experience that this confirms the original wounds, which requires that one engages the visceral body in terms of catharsis, so that the neural networks and memory that is stored up in the body and tissue of the original trauma can be rewritten. You flip the script, you change the narrative that's been running your ass on an unconscious level. You may ask yourself, why does shit come out of nowhere? Why am I sad? Why am I depressed? Why am I this or that or whatever the fuck? This is why some of you were able to snap back, pull back, assumed the archetype, the goddamn thunder and lightning of Thunor itself. I have warned and warned and warned. Do not fuck with our kind. And as a blue flame Magi Grail Shaman, as a Blu-ray Indigo, I hold the key to my purpose, knowing the difference, and will continue boldly stepping into my creative self-expression in whatever outlet of my choosing. As I have used my voice since the Blu-ray of creation, directly connected to the hearts and high hearts and throat chakra in terms of the tongue. I am here to share the things I have been for this very reason. We cannot be stopped in time, and we're not going to be stopped in terms of incarnation. And I have faced more backlash in terms of anything that anybody out there has attempted. You're fucking pathetic losers. You have no purpose. You have no point of existence. Those that are doing real shit don't have fucking time for that. Let alone has done this, the real great work. Everything else is weak and pathetic to me, because I know what my intention is. Otherwise, I know who the fuck I am. And that is the liberation of my own consciousness in connection to the higher force. And is what I encourage all across the board for anybody out there that's dealing with some fucking bullshit. You're going to get fucking challenged. This is about your alignment. This is about your purpose. This is about your fucking soul. And what my hope is that someday we can all get past this petty fucking bullshit and see eye to eye from the first eye, standing at those gates where indifference is shattered and true connection in terms of proper knowledge and wisdom can be established, let alone maintained, and come into a place of thriving of what is meant to come. Now, getting into the Nordic mythos, it's to state, knowing what I know, that this originated millions of years to prehistory timelines that existed well before Atlantis and Lemuria, yet part of everything, as well as to ancient Kemet. All of that which existed aeons before the rise of the Sumerian Draconian Empire that led the entire world into the Christian era, along with advent of any religion to misappropriate knowledge and context to any occult secret society, especially in terms of the last 10,000 years. And some of these dates in context are unattainable going into prehistory. But it is to state that the records, again, can be accessed with specific techniques taught with our mystery school. And there were schools during these times taking millions of years to the ancient wisdom councils, which I have addressed so many times on this platform. This is the legacy to which I represent, and is the alignment of the birthright of mankind in terms of actual initiation. I'm going to be speaking about Odin in context to Udinma, some of the deeper occult secrets in context. And if people want a reference to another tradition that predates history, Odin is Shiva. Now look at how this is targeted and inverted too, CERN. It's been inverted and twisted because they don't want the gates of the procession to open to those to whom it's meant. No, they want to suck you into a counterfeit fucking wormhole gridwork of consciousness, rake out your fucking soul. And in terms of the Georgia Guidestones and the strike that went against that, and also the one that hit the fucking Vatican, I fucking snapped on my solar return this year. That's when it all happened. It had been a while since I was in ritual, that the development of a specific system of ritual in terms of an individual's template was required in order to attain the rights of true alignment. The story of Odin took upon itself cosmological and universal and multidimensional universal implications, and whatever roots of foundations were lost over time worked to be outright eradicated, obscured, and twisted. The Nordic rites and mysteries and legends are contained within the poetic works. The sagas and the Eddas are mind-blowing examples of literary achievements, rich and wonderful, meted verse, deep and wise, but in the present form, not especially as ancient as they actually are, to the present hour that we hail the ancient future. The compilation of these works do stem from the oral tradition and is much more ancient than anyone can actually comprehend to its actual inception. And all of this in terms of the history of Midgard reveal the states of establishment which sprang forth the mountains after the Ice Age in terms of the ancestors, which has its roots and psychological overtones going well into prehistory in context to Albion, the term that I use in reference to the Great North, to which all of humanity originally hailed the four cardinal directions. And this was the seat of the ancient wisdom councils when it comes to every race on Earth. And during this time, all of humanity was allowed the freedom to discover their alignments and achieve the birthright of incarnation here on Earth after the destruction of the planetary gates of Maldek and Chiron in terms of the Electric and Orion Wars. This, in summary, is the secret of the in context to Kabbalah that they don't want you to know because it reveals the true cosmological occult history into alignment in terms of the true universal tree of life. Otherwise, I just gave you the secrets. I just gave you the knowledge. And I've been speaking about these things for years. Now you know the difference. I've already transcended the Metatronic gridworks. This is going to move everything into temple rites of initiation. But there's still so much that needs to be revealed, along with major corrections, the reformations with the occult, and fully acknowledged and seen before this can actually be reestablished in the earth again on the level that it's meant to in terms of the original timeline trajectory. One of the main battles of our human galactic history was fought at the constellation Orion. Again, if you want to know how things actually work, you must remember that the heavens above are within us, as above, so below. These wars started in the constellation of Lyra. Soon after that, the Lyran War spread to the constellation of Orion and became a war between the false king of tyranny ideologies versus the alignment of the cosmic royals, Blue Flame, Magi, Grail, Shaman. Essentially, this is the triangulated darkened seed of the war over consciousness between the Christ and the Antichrist gridworks of consciousness. And to this, I'm going to make a blatant statement that is going to shock the shit out of most that hear this. But the true Christ is everything to do with Odin in context to the ancient wisdom councils. To sacrifice unto yourself, take up your own cross. What is revealed in the ancient Nordic mythos trumps everything out there in terms of its confirmation to this. And this has nothing to do with Judaism. This has nothing to do with Christianity or Islam or Satanism or Luciferianism, dark Luciferianism otherwise. All of those religions are major misappropriations in terms of the actual truth, and is also why these original concepts have been poisoned on the levels that they have been to the first war that took place between the Aesir and the Vanir. And it was the genetic hatred that generated from the Orion group, which digressed into the violent murder and destruction, which further resulted the propagation of the victim-victimizer, tyrant-to-slave mind control states of conditioning in order to manipulate cosmic law against all sentient consciousness beings. During the time of the Orion Wars, the Orion Black League was established as a resistance to what was taking place during this time. Again, the heavens above are within you. And when the intergalactic Orion War started, it was a war between two parties. They were the Empire, in context to the dark side, and the armies of the True Light and Truth were on the other. Later on, rebels who opposed this dark empire also entered the scene as a third party to stand their ground alongside those of the True Light. The Black League, in context to the Lyran, Cosmic, Royal, Blue Flame, Magi, Grail, Shaman. And all of this goes back to the codes of the Narmangu, to the Jedi. The truly ancient legends and stories have taken on watering down, which all goes back to the hero's quest. It is extremely present in the ancient Nordic mythos, and all goes back to the Volsung, the hero of the world. And as most are not inclined to perpetuate anything in terms of ancient lore, all of this is going to involve a very fortified mental and emotional structure in order to integrate, let alone retain in terms of responsibility to the birthrights of mankind. And we more than ever now need to be deeply concerned over the production of the true arts of the occult in terms of ritual, and move all of these things into the expression and content creation and ways of living and being to the action we are taking in the world, to all of the other arts of music, painting, sculpting, craft work, building, every single office in terms of our existence, in alignment with right education and schooling with the all truth that has been misappropriated for far too fucking long in our world. We are coming into an era to which a new renaissance and new mythos is going to be created in terms of the ancient future, as was foreseen and foretold to the progression and evolution of mankind. And it's going to require that everyone firmly pull their heads out of their asses and realize that there is far more that is going to be unveiled and revealed to this progression. And by getting back to our true roots on a multidimensional level in connection with the higher force, to which is revealed the Nordic tradition, the All-Father. This is the All-Mother of all creation in terms of the true universal tree of life. There is no other mythos out there. There is no other tradition that gets into it as deep and as clear what needs to be achieved, correlations to our own lives, writing them, living them, experiencing them. Parchments and scattered fragments and all of this bullshit that's laced itself throughout culture as a cause point for confusion to the divide and conquer. All of this must be acknowledged and greatly upgrade the mythology. All of this is part of the real great work of Black Earth Productions that will continue in terms of the legacy, the ancient future. I have a broader spectrum of perception than you can possibly imagine, which all goes back into one of the most powerful mythological developments of all time. And we must own the spirit of this. We must own our own eternal spirits. This is even greater than the ancient bards that have come before us to precede the true legacy. It is a mythos of meaning. It is a mythos of purpose. It is a mythos of destiny. It is a mythos of alignment. It is a mythos of empowerment. It is a mythos of honor. It is a mythos of truth. It is a mythos of right living. It is a mythos of developing a common philosophy, a code to which we live that reveals the keys and gates to the individual in terms of their soul spark ignition, aligning the gate of true intelligence. When we further obtain to unlock and embrace the great mystery, in this we can create new mystery rituals, seeing fully the complete structure of the circle of the magician in alignment, a symbolic work more advanced than the great mysteries observed throughout the centuries. And even that, the original legacy to which Kemet was stripped away, which further threw our world into utter darkness and ignorance and confusion, and is the crux of the procession of the grand cycle. And as to one thing that has not been considered by most are the codes of the Narmangu to the Jedi. All of this has been obscured from mankind in terms of our true occult histories, let alone misappropriated by Hollywood and watered the fuck down. It goes much deeper in terms of reality than you could possibly fucking imagine. This isn't some cosplay bullshit, you dumb fucks. This has nothing to do with some goddamn fucking convention. I live this shit, and those that are in alignment with me to this, we get the fucking results. We've activated our templates. We've activated our gifts. We've activated our skills. We've activated correspondence with our core intelligence and the higher force. And denial upon denial and misappropriation upon misappropriation all across the board, even worse now in terms of the levels of information out there that cannot distinguish proper knowledge and wisdom versus some counterfeit fucking bullshit. You can't even discern between the two. How is it that you cannot see? One must dedicate their very existence to these things in order to truly know the difference. We cannot allow ourselves to be deceived, especially now in terms of what has unfolded in our world. Now is the most important time in terms of the ancient future when certain individuals decide that they are meant to perpetuate the original timeline trajectory. And now, in terms of those of us who are going to change the course of history as we know it to this, it is our time now, at present, and must be decided upon and allow the organic development of this. It will yield the results in terms of manifestation beyond what you can even imagine. Now, there's something major that needs to be known about Odin and the great descent of the world hero and the hero's quest. And this is the quest that we must all take to the true great work. The roots of this has been in serious danger throughout the centuries and is also highly misunderstood, even though corrections have been made in terms of progression rates in network. The universe of the sagas, born into being with the same pattern and focus within the records of the halls of Amente themselves. They can be known if taking the quest yourself. There are three worlds in terms, and there must always be three worlds in context to templating that connect to the three spirals of creation within an individual on a multidimensional level. For even the ancient druids going into prehistory hailed the mythos in their own rights and in its purity. And in terms of revealing, it is time to make the correction and correlations necessary to bring things back into alignment that we may cross the thresholds required for the quest of incarnation. The Nordic ritual constitutes a spiritual universe, an invisible, yet naked to the eye, causal creation, seen with the first eye. Through the flesh of Ra and the gold of consciousness sparks your eternal spirit, and reveals a vast infusion of pure, raw, and fallible consciousness and power in terms, which constantly resources that which is the isness of the all, and is the isness of existence. In 325 BC, at the Council of Nicaea, created the Catholic Church with the Brotherhood of the Snake, into the genocide of over 40,000 individuals that were tortured to renounce the original traditions. All of the books and records taken, and thus came forth the Bible. In 325 BC, take it to the actual histories that unfolded, to what was later integrated through the dogma and doctrine of this religion. Christianity and Satanism are two sides of the same inverted, triangulated coin. In 431, the cult of the Virgin was invented. In 594, purgatory was invented. In 610, the title of Pope was invented. In 1079, the celibacy of priests is imposed. In 1090, the Rosary was imposed. In 1184, the Inquisition was perpetuated. In 1190, indulgences were sold. In 1215, confession was imposed upon the public in terms of the priest class. And in 1216, the terror of bread, a god in Greek mythology, turning human flesh, was invented. In 1311, this is when baptism was instituted. In 1493, the non-existent purgatory was dogmatized. In 1854, the Immaculate Conception was invented. In 1870, the absurdity of an infallible pope was imposed. And there are more things invented by the religion of Christianity in order to enslave human beings into the inverted gridworks of the Clipoth reflected Kabbalah. Becoming and being which is the true cause to our doing and action. It is forever telling us of the vast patterns of space that lay behind the manifestation of things. This is the first world in context to the three spirals of creation and attributes the higher force of the Jedi itself. The second world is the world of mind, the mental universe, and holds itself between the superior and inferior creations. This mental universe, which is a servant of the eternal spirit, to that which preceded matter, to its cause for existence. There is a world. It is our world and universe, Midgard, where humans, in terms of the Volsung, were the original progenitors of the first, second, and third seedings of mankind in context to the Alpha. Here we have had to struggle against various manipulations in terms of the fates that have wept for the weaving of what's unfolded unto the blatant attempt to tear us away from our roots being human. You have to remember that we are at the spear tip of evolution of the upper, middle, and lower worlds to the original template given through the three spirals of creation, and is also laced throughout the entire structure of the true universal tree of life on a multi-dimensional level. And so solidified in terms of our eternal spirit's ultimate physical expression when it comes to the true light body integration and achievement, to the mental and emotional capacities, our spiritual capacity and mastery over the temporal existence is to make connection to eternity within the mental intention sprang from the gates of true intelligence. And yet the whole process of creation is described as strange melancholy that tells us that all that lives must someday die and fade away, when this could be further from the actual truth. The gods and goddesses to the god worlds and the heroes, all of the greats, have been swallowed up in the twilight of the gods for far too long. It is the Ragnarok that we must now work to focus on manifesting. This has never been achieved since what happened did, holding our world and universe in the same inverted, twisted cycles again and again and again. It rises to a certain point, remembered to a certain point, but pulled back into itself again in context to Jormungandr's trajectory. And because we have not dug deep enough into the potential of what is truly there within ourselves to expand our core connection to eternity itself. Even the gods, as Odin told me what happened, they too have been caught within the closed loop system ensued by the dark brotherhoods and sisterhoods, which in terms of the mythos all go back to Loki and Hyrrokin in context to Gulveig. And all of this is far, far, far more ancient than you can wrap your tiny little heads around without access to the gates of true intelligence. Nostalgic, yet moving within the solemn grandeur of ritual. This commands our attention. And over the vast components to the mystery, it's the quest that we take to demystify and de-occult these things that they may be revealed, which proves the existence of not only the higher force in context to all Father, which is formless and ultimately nameless, and has no inverted boundary or limitation, and is eternal in terms of that which is. Again, the isness of the all, forever observing and seemingly never interfering, forever permitting, yet never denying, and by its own incredible silence, confounding both gods and men. For even the greatest of the immortal mortals and the mortal immortals cannot ever fully know the depths and wisdom and presence and power of the higher force. We, in terms of the ancestors, bear upon lances and our spears the runes of sacred wisdom, upon our bones, within our codes, to the blood that is flowing through our veins, reveal a major portion of cosmic law and how things actually work. The fire that are codex that reveal the mystery of allness. And of the vast endless pursuits that must continue producing worlds and returning them unto themselves into everlastingness. This, in terms of the Nordic mythos, reveals the great mystery of what the All-Father actually is. And in most terms of our more current ancient past, given at least the last 10,000 years, didn't even have time to contemplate these things because they were almost completely and totally eradicated from mind. But nothing can ultimately separate us from that which we truly are. Instead, you need to recognize how you have been conditioned to despise and loathe the true essence of who you are because of this lower force that seeks your essence in order to eclipse the soul spark and devour your very soul. We must tear and rip through the veils. The cause points to this separation, as within, as without, as above, so below, to its ultimate effect in terms of alignment. Remember this always, that all worlds and universes converge in the third dimension on a multidimensional level. And between our connection to that which is the vast abyss, the depths of this, neither can no man or woman fathom its seduction, a substance that no man or woman could ever understand. And frankly, knowing about it is necessary. But again, to our focus, we are here to bridge worlds and universes. And unto the strange cosmic tyrant that sprang forth, that seeks nothing but to devour life and the true light and essence, and ultimately itself unto itself, to the deepest levels of perversion and inversion of what our quest is all about, triangulated out of existence into evaporation itself, which cuts deep in terms of the infinite equation into the belowness of things, and reveals the difference between time to infinity and thus eternity otherwise, and exposes the nothing for what it actually institutes, no matter the cycle. It cuts you off, you not even knowing the difference. That which is in alignment with evolution and expansion, having the proper foundation, and with the same broad brush, the abyss is bound by great cliffs and edges, those that you must climb in order to bridge and seal off the rift. And to the latter reveals the legend of fire and ice. Therein stands the portal to eternity. And this to the mystery of the magic of fire, water, to proper knowledge and wisdom and action that must be achieved in terms of the procession of the grand cycle. For the heat of one and the cold of the other cause a vast mist to form within the abyss. And the fire is the seed of creation to fire, as to the All-Father, and the ice brings forth the waters of the Creatrix, as to the All-Mother, when mixed with the fire of All-Father in context to the higher force, and reveals the mystery of all mysteries, the magic of fire, water. And within our world, we must become both masters of the true light to proper knowledge and wisdom, and embrace fully the darkness of ignorance that you are drowning in, knowing the difference. Mastering the cosmic law of polarity in terms of electromagnetics, positive and negative charge, the energy force, with the third energy itself, the higher force, the Jedi. This ultimately is what we must think into and establish the patterns necessary to, at the very least, master the first cosmic law in terms of mind, and then unto the second middle world within the core of who we are. In the days of giants, which remain, that walk among us here on earth in our time, those in the north are the giants of ice, glistening and gleaming with bodies. Those of the south were giants of fire, reaching with flaming arms. In their incredible combustions, these hurled the magic of fire, water into the depths of the core essence of eternity itself, which reveals Gunungagap, and is the great cause point and primal sound to the true light fields of the eternal collective consciousness of the higher force itself, held within the 13D to 15D spectrums in consciousness. Here, with the minglings of frost and fire, rise great clouds of immense mist. This mist that swirls and twirls throughout the ages takes shape and is conceived again and again, which is the mystery of fire and ice that was and is to the isness, and is encompassed by the great cosmic womb of Gunungagap itself, and is where the fire letters of the runes reveal themselves, starting with Fehu, which is the great Arokus unto Urus. Without salt, the great Arokus cannot live, so as to the seated spectrum vision and intention and action to fire, to cosmic law, 24 gates accessed with the 9 to the spindle of the true universal tree of life, in order to weave the weird of fate here within the universal tree of life. Out of the ice, fire lit by the great Orcarus, came forth Odin in terms of the creation of Midgard via Udinma. And in context to archetypal consciousness, was not the supreme presence in terms of the higher force in context, but is the archetype of the Master Magus. For he knows the true secrets of the runes and the spectrums of the fire letter codex and all equations to the true universal tree of life. This tree was planted in the lowest parts of the body of Ymir in terms of the cosmos. In this tree, like the spinal cord of giants, grew up through all three worlds in terms of the spindle of the true universal tree of life. This again to its portion is the Yggdrasil, and all things that have lived upon this tree, which encompasses the capacity of the true universal tree of life, where we stand in the physical realm we call Earth, Thra, or Tara, to its ultimate expression in alignment. This is what we have been cut off from in context to the goddess Idun, and as it reveals in the Nordic tradition that a swan rests at the trunk of the tree, buried, let alone concealed, to all of these other overlays and distortions, gridworks laced our reality field that need to be torn down in the face of the true ancient grids lighting up. I will report that I have met face to face with high elders of the Red Dragon tribes, and they have been presented with the nectar of Athanasia, and all has been confirmed. It's only a matter of time before everything I've been speaking about for years manifests in context to the prophecy. And as it were, there rose a great mountain, the mountain of the gods in terms of the ancestors and the ancient wisdom councils. And there rests the great hall of council. And here Odin called upon all of the elemental powers and forces of nature in the universe, and from there created the bridge called Bifrost. It is seen clearly within the nectar of Athanasia. The only thing that could bridge the great rift and seal off the abyss, which thus forbidden to enter, is the vacuum that the universe itself abhors. The Bifrost would never be destroyed, let alone accessing any other world and universe in existence on a multidimensional level. This could only be accessed through the portal of Ginnunga Gap to Udinmar in terms of ultimately mastering the art and science of the circle of the magician. This is why I teach what I teach. Right now is our time in terms of recompense to course correct the timeline. For our universe, among others, was our playground to the first, second, and third seeding of the original human Alfarian races, which did scale the cradle of Lyra, as well as Tara, Maldek, and many other places in the known universe in terms of soul code genetics on the galactic spiral of creation, reflecting the second world where we stand today in 2022. And as Odin observed from his position, he was able to gaze into all creation, and is how the mystery of the Norns was revealed to me in 2003. The great riddle that was spoken to me by the field men who came to me and said, "Weep as to be wept." The great sadness that wisdom reveals in terms of reality, and is that which we have been conditioned to avoid. The great mystery of the abyss in terms of Kabbalah cannot be known, which is a fucking lie. I worked with that system for years and unlocked the Tesseract to bring things back into alignment from the 15th dimensional consciousness states of mind that are ignited within my core templating. These were the fences, these were the barriers, these were all of the things standing in the way, torn the fuck down in terms of my progression rate, and was part of my task in terms of incarnation and my Orlog to reveal this to all of you out there hearing me right now, that the Great Rift could be bridged back into alignment to which it has in terms of this mystery school and platform. Everything to the conditioned state of mind that threw our world and universe into slavery. These chains must be broken. You must break these chains. And as I went into the process of true shamanic initiation, the fear that I had to overcome was beyond what has been assumed the abyss actually fucking is. You still have no idea what you're actually dealing with here. It is far, 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 far fucking worse than you can possibly fucking imagine. And it's why it is forbidden. It's not anything you want to fuck with. And it's not anything you even assume it is. It's far worse. And in terms of my position, formulated, all of this had to take place, and is why I'm doing what I am unto myself and for those to whom it's meant. The ravens that are able to go into all corners of space-time accessed the true thought and memory. Hugin and Moonin are able to see clear everything for what it truly is. And those who are willing, in terms of the hero's quest they embark upon, will be able to celebrate their works and achievements in the great banquet hall of Valhalla via Udinmar. And think of what that means to fight. Think about what that means to heal. Think about what that means to feast. no matter how much you are opposed, no matter how hard the fight, feast and celebration in terms of victory in the face of that which could oppose the alignment of your eternal spirit, so-called blood code essence. Imagine what this really reveals. We are not each other's enemies. We will form our ranks. We will gather our forces and see clearly who the true enemy is and rise to take back this world and do the great work to bring things back into alignment. All of the gods weep for Baldur, which is symbolism of the human soul, because humans forgot their true power, and humans have forgot their rightful position in terms of the spear tip of evolution, the spearhead. It makes no difference what we are up against, and ultimately reveals the inner tyrant that, if left unslain, is going to rule your ass on an unconscious level and continue to manifest its reflection and manifestation in our world to the agendas of the ultimate evil and the parasitic consciousness that sprang forth the abyss to which ignorance worships. I challenge the world to defeat this philosophy. We are defending a conception, a construct, a mental inner knowing of the universe, the actual fucking world that we live in. This is not my morality. It is an intellectual equation that is rooted the gates of true intelligence. This is something that everyone can see or not see. It is something that you can evaluate. This is not some kind of goddamn personal morality dependent on me or you or fucking anyone being the one to enunciate it. Fuck that shit. There is truth in the universe, and you can go ahead and say that the universe has no truth. I don't give a fucking shit. The theory of natural selection is psychological bullshit. It has no fucking meaning, as if it actually happened that way, that there is no truth to be defined. That is bullshit. There is an objective reality, and there is an objective true morality. And the whole thing is one thing. The whole thing is a description of reality, of our cosmology, of how things actually work in terms of cosmic law. So if you want to try and debate the philosophy, let's see you continue to attempt that by playing word games and saying that one is synonymous with draconian mind control programming and the other is synonymous with learning. It's just fucking retarded. It's fucking nonsense. It is meaningless fucking rhetoric, and you have to make the argument. And I've made the argument that most could not imagine on the level still, because they still have their heads full of shit. And you don't have to like this fact, but you need to respond to the argument. Stop all of this personal bullshit. It's not me enforcing anything on you. It's me defending truth, the idea to what the birthright of mankind requires to the trajectory of the original timeline. People are so full of fucking bullshit religion. You don't even know what the fuck you're speaking about more than 99% of the time. If you think you're going to be able to refute anything that I presented, you can go ahead and try. You will not succeed, because this is not my truth. It's the truth. And as I've said, let alone have revealed, these fuckers, these dark Luciferian Gnostic Satanists, don't actually deal with any intelligent deity. They have deified ignorance to worship, plaguing the victim. And you've allowed these lower forces to station within the reality field as your psychological overlords. And from there, presume to say that you know what the fuck is going on, or you know how the universe operates, or that the universe makes sense. You justify all of the bullshit and suffering that is in this world, otherwise not knowing what the true path is, and willingly allow this shit to happen in your life and in the world around you. You are the evil on a far lesser tier of the inverted equation. And I've explained why I feel the way that I feel. I am a blue ray, indigo, blue flame, Magi, Grail, Shaman. You don't know the shit that I've seen or experienced. And it's like this otherwise with people that want to pull you into their bullshit as if it means anything greater than the actual truth itself. No, that is what keeps you in a place of suffering, and it's what keeps you in a place of weakness. It's fucking pathetic, and I see the horror of it. And to this, I have genuine care. And this is why I'm speaking the way that I'm speaking. And my heart wrenches all of it. And I know myself what it's like to be locked down in that shit. And what I did if I were to experience all of this fucked up shit I've seen all across the board. I can relate to all of it 100% psychologically speaking from within my core, because I braved the chasm of the abyss in terms of my initiation to make ready myself the bridge that was going to assist others to their own rites of initiation to become powerful in this life, and is one of the major points of initiation into this mystery school, and it's to take your fucking power back. I've explained the philosophy. I live the fucking code, and it's a philosophy and code of true care. Look at the volume of actual fucking blood that's been shed the aeons that humanity is drowning in terms of the ethers. And you assume everything is fucking fine in this world? It's fucking not. And most don't have the right worldview to even know the difference in terms of the occult. The hidden, proper knowledge and wisdom you need to awaken to, otherwise distracted and brainwashed with all of this other bullshit, and you wonder why these fucking idiots cannot see what the fuck all of this is and how it's perpetuating itself into fantasyland bullshit when it actually comes to spirituality in reality. You still don't fucking get it. But if you get it, then initiation into the mystery school and learning how to pull the alignment of your destiny to templating past all of this bullshit is about getting directly involved so as to evolve existence along with me and others that are doing the real great work. What the fuck else are you going to do otherwise? Be a slave to fear and indifference to reality, living a lie? Then get the fuck out of my temple. Go away from us. I look for nothing from this except exemption from your fucking insanity, away from you fucktards that keep investing in a system that is fucking broken. It's fundamentally broken, and there are no winners in that game set against your life to fucking destroy your soul. The best you do is satisfy half of your lower desires programmed into your DNA, and you are owned by that shit. I'm here defending true intelligence. I'm defending logic. I'm defending true spirituality. I'm defending and living what it means to be truly spiritual, and looking at this insane, crazy, sick-ass equation that I have exposed, still being invested into. Stop! No! You have to fucking stop and actually question and make the right investments. But you assholes won't even do that. You just want to talk shit as to why you cannot rise. You don't even advocate an actual fucking philosophy. I've cited in terms to language on a higher level of consciousness, and everyone needs to slay the inner tyrant. What makes me different is that I am arguing the position transcended their bullshit game that all of you are still caught in. You think it's outside of yourself when the backdoor wormhole to the fucking war resides within your templating? You're full of fucking shit. Intelligent people get what the fuck I'm saying. They see through the bullshit, even at my level of vehemence. And I could give a shit if you're offended. What I care about is the truth and the fulfillment of the prophecy that has been revealed to the birthrights of mankind. And all of this is real. This is a meaningful conversation, and humanity needs to realize that it's an addicted psychology because it does not know thyself. It does not know itself. It's a bullshit program, and all of you are conditioned to chase your fucking tail, just as the diabolics dictate to the Ouroboros, lockdown equations to the 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, triangulated the manipulation of the spindle of the energy force itself. And it's not an insult. It's a goddamn fucking fact. This isn't meant to degrade you. It's to expose the truth that you're a programmed animal. Their whole fucking game is programmed into you. And it only makes sense if you're fucktarded enough to believe it makes sense, feeding our pointless wanderings into the lie. Consumption and reproduction through the process of natural selection. That's their game. You are a psychological animal that has been merely programmed to do this in a psychologically sophisticated way, conditioned to be maggots on a slightly higher level of manipulated gridworks in terms of the lower astral. I see exactly where you're pulling from. Think that you've transcended? You haven't. If you had, then you would know what I'm saying here. And that is where the war for your soul is taking place, through the emotional manipulations of your mind. This is what you need to overcome and not be a part of to the programming in Wallow. If you don't dare to question what's been created around you, that's what you're basically saying. You are the ones making the religious argument that no one can question the sanctity of the personal emotional bullshit, that it somehow is the cherished stone of the universe, the eccentric personal bullshit, and that's just fucking retarded. The true game is consciousness, knowing how to navigate consciousness and knowing how to manage it and manifest this shit into alignment so that you don't have all of this fucking suffering and horror with the misery on a goddamn table to feast because you can't get your fucking shit together. It's goddamn fucking pathetic. You've invested in bullshit, presumed that there is no design flaw. I pointed out the design flaws deeper and harder than anybody else out there in terms of proper knowledge and wisdom of the occult, along with others in my network at the forefront. And you don't want to fucking hear it. But if you do hear it, and you do get it, then the doors to the procession are open to you, as well as genuine correspondence in terms of initiation into the mystery school. Our kind are on the rise, and it's only a matter within time that this manifests the collective consciousness in a way that has never been done before. Now is your opportunity. Now is the time to go for it. And when you do, you have to go for it all the way. Accountable to truth as the master teacher, as we all hold ourselves accountable otherwise. And in the perpetuation of the universe, the true universal tree of life went down beneath the surface of all things within Midgard into a strange primordial place called Helheim, from which Christians in their ignorance got their word hell. But the true definition of Helheim means healing. And in the case of the true occult history, Helheim was not a hot, burning place of eternal torment for the damned. Helheim was cold, hence the term cold as hell. And there are the roots of the true universal tree of life, which rooted in the strange residue and composition within the body of Ymir, reached into the very depths of Ginnungagap itself, from which the great tree grew the roots to fate, the mysterious power of destiny, which is the well of Urd, and is the stream of Mimir, to which even Odin must adhere and respect, and here must face that which is gnawing at the roots of the tree, if left unchecked, will eventually destroy the upper, middle, and lower worlds of your original template. That is why we must embrace the pool of memory. And as we are spread thin and burdened in terms of our lives to all of the misgivings and doubts that attend creativity in almost any field, especially any large undertaking, we'll come to the points in life of fashioning what we are without knowing why. The major question is why to anything, like Odin, not knowing where he came from or how he was born. Destiny could not be achieved otherwise. And when he first became aware of himself, he was already informed, licked out of the ice by the great Dragoon. He knew nothing of his own origins. He knew nothing of his own destiny. Therefore, realizing that unless we know origin and destiny, that we can never ultimately survive. And Odin went down to the source of all wisdom, revealed the pool and stream of Mimir into the darkness of the subconscious unconscious minefield, which revealed the deepest and most profound roots of the self. And Mimir listened to the cries of Odin in that place and told him very frankly that if he wished wisdom in addition to all of his other achievements, that a great sacrifice was required. And Odin swore an oath upon his spear that he would make that sacrifice. And Mimir said to Odin, if you want wisdom, pluck out your right eye and throw it into the pool stream. And without hesitation, Odin did this. And it was then that Mimir whispered the secrets of the runes, which again are a major portion of cosmic law unto the higher force. And he told him many wonderful things. Yet at the same time, he refused to tell Odin of his own origin or his own destiny. These he could not and would not tell. But having these things revealed, he cut the runes into his spear shaft and returned again to the upper worlds, and there brooded longer over the mystery of it all. And with resolve to go further, he listened to the voice of oracles and to the whispers that came to him out of the great mystery of space, that if man would live forever, he must die. And only those that gave their lives would keep them, and only those that would lose their lives in terms of truth would regain them into everlastingness. He had already given an eye, in terms of the first eye ignition to the gates of true intelligence, his body full of the true light. And he was asked by the mysterious voices of the ancestors to give more, to die for life. So Odin went out onto the branches of the great universal tree of life, and there sacrificed himself unto himself. He hung there, but he did not perish, but was transformed and merged deeper and deeper his true core essence, and further wisdom and further inner knowing was revealed and given to him. He survived the ordeal and lived after resolving the process. The gods whispered that he could not die until that great day. Odin learned that he could not die, but that he had to wait to complete wisdom for him to process and fight for something that is beyond himself. Just like all of us here have to fight for our positions, we have to fight for our thrones in alliance with Unar, Thor, the mysterious god that knew the depths and secrets of lightning and the power of magic to electromagnetics. And he knew the connection to its ultimate expression in power and alignment with the higher force. In his hand, the great hammer, that glide like a boomerang, and this hammer in the form of a cross. With this, he overcame and destroyed evil, especially in terms of the Jormungandr in context to the Ragnarok. The very first phases of the alchemical rites of initiation to the blackening phase is your Ragnarok. Thor is a mighty hero in terms of archetypal consciousness. And when it comes to the ancestors, with the advanced initiations that took place between Odin and Thor, their magic was combined in the creation of something that was more powerful than themselves alone. And Thunor was accepted into the ancient councils and given the position he represents as the protector of mankind, opposing the constriction of life force energy as to the expansion of consciousness and awareness unto the alignment with the all higher force. And when energies are worked with correctly, it will bring organization through the gates of catharsis, the rift in terms of chaos and devourment of life to the abyss. And in terms of the Great Council, it was wisdom that preceded. But these things were not always adhered to in terms of the ancestors, which inevitably brought certain cases of ruin and turmoil when Thoth betrayed wisdom. That is when it all fell. When thought betrays wisdom, that is when anything in the reality that exists falls into chaos, whether it is blatant or subtle. And that is where the manifestation of constriction to the abyss will reappear in the various ways that it can. These are the curses that gradually descend through the ages of time, because an evil thing had been done. And this evil of broken honor destroyed all of the gods and goddesses and their worlds and everything that pertained to them in alignment with the higher force. And this, in terms of the ancestors, is what we must correct, being human in terms of the ancient future. This is why we are here. And this was the purpose of incarnation, because it could not happen in these other realms otherwise. It happens here on Earth. Ascension happens here. It has to go to the heart of the true universal tree of life. It has to ignite the alignment of who we are in our realm, to not only remember ourselves, but to remind the gods and goddesses of their birthrights and what is required if we are going to cross these thresholds into the aeon of the Ragnarok, to which the new mythos attributes, and in context to Odin's son Balder. Balder is the archetype and sigil and symbol of the human spirit, the soul spark essence of who we are at core intelligence that knows the difference. Balder is alignment. Balder is the gold of consciousness. Odin is the gold of consciousness. The seed. It is power in knowing the difference. And everything that is admired and praised among the gods and goddesses is a true example of what the Christos represents. And because Balder believed in song and art and dance and ritual and expression and poetry and warring for the right reasons, it was observed by the councils the process to an eclipse that would potentially destroy the heart and pull it into the abyss. And this is what Balder was sworn to eternity to never allow. He was forever shining, and his head was surrounded by the true light of illumination in alignment with the higher force, the true light, and propelled the expansion of creative potential in terms of co-creation to all worlds and universes in terms of the true universal tree of life. And in that time, he was created to meet and face evil head on. This is the eternal spirit of humanity in terms of archetypal consciousness. And Odin went to every living creature upon the earth and bound them with an oath that not one of them would ever injure or bring harm to Balder. Not even the rocks would be permitted to throw themselves upon him. Not a tree allowed itself to be fashioned into an arrow or spear to kill him. Not a human be permitted to bring harm upon him, for if they did, a curse would come upon them. And everything that reflected the true light of illumination would only throw back what was thrown at Balder, and everything was bound by an oath of honor. And Odin was very confident that perhaps he outwitted the strange morbid destiny that hung over everything. But destiny is even greater than the gods, for in his great pact with life, he had asked everything and everyone, including Frigg on her own accord. They asked everything except one. They had failed to ask a little branch of mistletoe that grew high on another tree. They had asked the tree, but they did not notice the mistletoe. And it was the mistletoe that developed a grudge, a parasitic root to branch that would have been possibly perfectly willing to agree, but because it had not been asked to protect the integrity of Balder, as it states later that Loki, the shadow blood brother of Odin, the trickster and the one that wanted to be the god above all gods, that evil spirit, that god of indifference and self-loathing and chaos itself, he, the backbiter and cynical one, the Mephisto among the divine, the dark and ignorant one, the hypocrite that secretly despised all of the gods, but none so much as Balder in terms of the true eternal human spirit. And his fierce jealousy was stirred because he assumed such a high place in Asgard. Loki hated him as the darkness hates the true light, and as evil abhors that which is in alignment. All of his plots and schemes tended to one fucking end, the absolute destruction of the human spirit, and of this being hated and despised, packed with the old ones, and in turn hoped to bring about in some way the downfall of Odin and the ruin of the Volsung, and thus destroy the spindle of the true universal tree of life. But first, he would have to murder Balder, and for well he knew that nothing would cause such universal grief as his evaporation of Balder into the abyss. You must come to know that Loki, in terms of the tarot, is the magician who gave birth to Jormungandr. It's right there around his goddamn fucking waist. And is by no means the master magus. He is the trickster, and is the one who limits and constricts and wishes that he was like Odin. And to this you must ultimately come to realize that the tarot is the path of Odin. And in context to Balder's ignition, you will have to face this in terms of your own path. Loki himself never took the true path, and is the archetype that conceals and eclipses and seals and keeps those that would inquire the true path to all of its various counterfeits and false paths in existence. Loki is nothing, even close to what was birthed, the intention of alignment in context to Balder, that is first accessed the circle of the magician, and gets humanity among all other creatures and beings in the cosmos to sell out their birthright in order to feed the old ones in context to the abyss. And through the dark, inverted womb of Hyrrokin, it is his lust for that which he cannot obtain in context to Gulveig, his consort, that gave birth to dark sorcery in Vanaheim, who tricked Freya in order to destroy Idun. This is the crux of our occult history. This is the crux of triangulation. This is what the mythos reveals in terms. And they are the ones that want to rule over all creation in place of the true gods and goddesses from the ethers. And they are they that betrayed and traded out their own birthright. And as Loki worked to revenge himself upon Odin, he caused an arrow to be fashioned out of the mistletoe, and he placed this arrow in the bowl of Hodor, the blind god, in context to the old ones. And he pointed the arrow. As they pointed the arrow, slew Balder the beautiful. It was assumed among the gods that no weapon fashioned could ever destroy Baldur, that which has targeted the hearts of mankind. And with the death of Baldur, all of the gods went into a great cosmic mourning. Even as they still weep unto the Norns, weep as to be wept. When this occurred during the time it happened, Odin knew that he could never outwit the inevitable. He had never been able to fathom the mystery of the higher force. He had never been able to determine the secrets of this world. He did not possess the power to these things in eternity, but only in time. And with our struggles of melancholy against inevitables, it flows on down through the entire story of Udinmar and our realm here on Earth. But Odin had reconsidered the possibility that if he can never achieve the fullness of the mystery, perhaps that there is someone that could. And is why I feel now that Odin came to me in the fashion that he did, because of what the focus is in terms of this mystery school, which is the higher force itself. And all of the gods know what I had to go through and face in order to obtain this connection myself, and the secrets of how to obtain it. The most important occult knowledge accessed via the ignition of the soul spark to the eternal spirit itself, so that this mystery of mysteries could be solved. And it sets everything else apart to fashion and dream forth and action a creation in terms of our lives, being individuals that know how to save ourselves and thus save all of the gods and goddesses, thus save Baldur, which is your own eternal spirit. This is the gold of consciousness itself. For if the gods are within us, is that not their redemption? And is it not the other way around in terms of the inversions? Sprang forth religion through Christianity and all of the cube cult bullshit that sprang forth the Sumerian Draconian Empire that destroys the human spirit. And you really have to see everything now for what it is. There is a strategy that has been advised and created in terms of wisdom, manifest a people that do the great work. And those that choose to be chosen are called the Volsung, and are a race within all races, fashioned by Odin himself in terms of wisdom, bred from the seeds of proper knowledge and wisdom, giving birth unto themselves, here to produce, as from the true universal tree of life, its final fruit. The heroes of our world that take the hero's quest. And see, before it was not able to happen to the manipulation of the spindle of the true universal tree of life. All of this has been concealed. Everything that I'm sharing with you is not known on the level that it could be and should be in terms. And to the twisting and inversions of fate enacted by Gulveg's ultimate form to Hyrokin, through the inverted weaving of the weird, to Angraboda, to manipulate the past and future in terms of the present. And in order for us to transcend and take back the spindle in terms of the true universal tree of life and spin the threads back onto the original timeline trajectory in terms of the ancient future, we, the Volsung, doing the great work of ages, must see everything for what it is. Onto the Grail cycle, to Arthurus Artorius. Everything is connected in terms of what is taking place with this platform, with the mystery school, and what is present in our reality field and the ignition of the codes of the Nartmungu. It is the fates that are waiting for all of you to really wake the fuck up, because they have to weave what you intend, whether you are aware of it or not. And you have been cut off from your intention to the core essence, which has been concealed and must ignite Baldur in context to the spindle within yourself, what the alignment's intention actually is. And this is why they weep. Traded out in terms of all bullshit manifested in our world with people all across the board. And if you do not master the mystery of survival that is revealed in the Rhine of your hearts, the signal of the last great war, the waters of the Rhine rise, where the gold of immortality is accessed. And in the mountain that survives holds the seed of the divine masculine and divine feminine force to its expression to men and women who are in alignment with their core intelligence, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, mastering the temporal existence. Ascension happens here. This is what we are going to do to survive and overcome the madness that has unfolded and is the future in terms of the original timeline trajectory. And we are quite literally in the Ragnarok, as foretold in terms of the ancients. and the worms are tearing away at the roots in terms of mind. The Ragnarok is the submerging of consciousness and a vast psychological symbol, not merely a factual incident, and is to ask yourselves, what is the cause point for it in terms of it being necessary? And see, as far as I'm concerned, it is necessary in order to eradicate the parasite and seal off the rift to the abyss. Odin was never born, just as you were never born. We have always existed, came forth the ice, and are awakened from sleep by the heat of the great dragon, licking the ice. And within Odin resides the concept of universal mind, which is the true quote-unquote demigod, in context, the immortal mortal, the true eternal spirit of mankind. And mind seems to be able to solve every mystery except the mystery of itself. It's a paradox, and will remain in this condition until it comes to know thyself. You must come to know thyself. Mind can rule matter, but it can never tap the full depths of consciousness. Mind can order everything inferior to itself, but it cannot order itself. Mind can give man knowledge of all things outside itself to environments and all things that can and must be weighed and estimated and polarized. And the world of which mind rules was polarized by the struggle of the frost giants and the flame giants. And so ruling as regent over creation is this universal mind, which was not born, but was released from sleep. Ice equals sleep. And this ice is no different from the Kemetan Egyptian use of the symbol. And it was known that ice preserves. Therefore, in a strange way, the cosmic suspension, which is recognized in terms of the Arctic homeland. And after the day of manifestation came the night of suspension, in which everything remains preserved over the abyss. And is this bridge that we must access the great Bifrost. And everything is held here in the strange grip of sleep. Which is why you need to wake the fuck up to the star fire ignition to extract from the ice of your birthright and die to the programmed, assumed, inauthentic you that you have been conditioned to be otherwise. The great dragoon represents arc technologies and nature and the universe, which brings forth the emergence of mind in context to Odin. It is the gold of consciousness. As nature in her alignment brings forth forms in which mind in alignment can authentically express and solidify itself in terms of cosmic law. That is the nature and the order of how things actually fucking work on a multidimensional level in all dimensions that exist, and is the nature that releases mind, building bodies, refining faculties, upgrading mechanics, and by making possible the manifestation of intellectual power in alignment with the gate of true intelligence. Odin occupies the middle distance, moving upon the face of chaos, broke and destroyed it in terms of catharsis, and is how the worlds and universes came into being. Thus, mind brings us to a place where we come to know how to organize chaos. And this is how we wield magic that is in alignment with the higher force. Mind destroys the sleeping giants of chaos to matter and shapes it accordingly and releases the energies that are quote unquote locked down within it. And mind also reflected in terms of Vili and Ve, who are Odin's brothers in context to mind, revealing the Trinity sigil of the Great North, the union of mind with the higher force in terms of all creation, which stretches back millions upon millions of years into prehistory in terms of the true gods and humanity. A humanity that existed well before all of its twisting, inversions, and misappropriations that happened to the betrayals that took place in context to the Orion Wars, and especially in terms of the most recent cataclysms. This must be seen again for what it is, and eventually will be, so that we get back to our true roots in terms of the human races, and we remember who the fuck we actually are, and see the occult fundamentals and principles in terms of cosmic law when it comes to the ancestors and archetypal consciousness integration and ignition of the star core alignment with the higher force. Nothing to this is going to be able to be navigated correctly, let alone anything else seen clearly for what it is that opposes true intellectual illumination to mind and alignment with the gates of true intelligence. And the great universal tree of life has its roots, super consciousness to the upper world, represented a palace of the god worlds, and has its middle distance in terms of where we are here on earth, as above, so below, as within, as without, to which all worlds and universes converge at the heart. What is the actual condition of your heart? You listening to me right now, what is the brutally honest condition of your heart between the superior and inferior unknowns in terms of potential and the flux of life, learning first how to master mind in context to cosmic law, so that every other law in terms of creation can be potently mastered in alignment with the higher force, which brings forth the concept you still don't get it and what's actually required for this to take place. And you get all these Christians speaking about the New Jerusalem and all of this other misappropriated bullshit when they don't even know the real mythos in terms of its actual reference. And in context to Asgard, Valhalla, Udenma has nothing to do with anything that came out of the desert lands after the most recent cataclysm. All of that is the counterfeit bullshit to the real in context, and is where all of those who have passed see down into Midgard and are backing us the fuck up in terms of the ancestors. And all of this will come at the end of the Great War, and is the place to which heroes go, picked up by the Valkyrie, leave themselves in the wake of swords upon their quest. Everything that relates to the original teaching in terms of initiation, coming onto the true magical path, mastering this existence we call life. It's those that have achieved the conscious service of the mysteries that guides all things that are in alignment with truth. This world of mind and the process of growth that precedes the great stream of life goes back to the sacrifices that we must make in order to achieve this potential. And for myself, I have 100% sacrificed everything in my existence to be in alignment with that which is meant. And for anything that is seemingly taken away or leaves, you will have returned back to you 100 times more than you can even imagine if you do not deter the quest, no matter what happens. Once you start, you must see it all the way through. Otherwise, it would have been better for you to have never fucking started in the first place. There is no quitting here. You are either doing the great work or you're not. You have to face the magic mirror gate. You must find your actual fucking alignment in context to initiation into the mysteries. And it's by no means necessary to assume that you have to do it like I am. This is my task and what I am here for, to remind those that are ready to graduate this realm and bring forth the trajectory of the original timeline. It really is a question of what you are willing to sacrifice in order to make that happen. First, in your own lives, and then with the people around you, so on and so forth. Many sell their souls unwittingly further from the truth. That which is in alignment is not opposed unto itself and does not tear itself asunder. It does not have time for that, but will go to war and draw the line against anything that keeps us from our destinies here on earth. It will do everything it can to reason with individuals, but sooner or later, the truth, with this we must achieve concentration and obsession, and must unite and ultimately have a purpose in terms of where we are going. We must live by this code, and it must see all things objectively for what they are. Odin proceeds through all of the developments in context of mind, but the paradox to mind is the realization of its own mortality, because it deals with a great misalignment in terms. And even deeper than you can realize is the cause for the utter frustrations that we all deal with here in this realm. Knowing and sensing that there is something more, but not knowing what it is, and is what we must achieve in order to cross the thresholds of what is upon us now in reality. And you must realize that mind is not immortal, and the works of mind are not eternal. Mind is a tool and a weapon to be wielded in terms of consciousness expansion to that which is eternal. And that's why you're blocked, because you're all up in your heads, not pulling the alignment of the gates of true intelligence to ignite the first eye of inner knowing. It's all of the walls you keep hitting again and again and again that must be breached to what has been pressed in on your mind. And the struggle of mind is its disintegration and is represented by the struggle of Odin to achieve the proper knowledge and wisdom of reality. And through his sacrifice unto himself, he did gain something absolutely to behold, the mystery of the runes and the revealing of cosmic law. And we must ascribe upon our spears and our swords and our shields as men the fire letters within our bones in order to know and master the knowledge necessary. The bind rune of the Norns themselves revealed the crystal skull of Mimir, which is revealed in terms of initiation into the mystery school. Mimir is the great mirror, which every great thinker holds before his mental eye to see the reflection of themselves, not your truth, the truth, where it becomes self-evident in terms of what is revealed and confirmed. This mystery is unfolded in great detail along the way, the scripting of our own stories, to the scribes that will speak about those that at this time, in terms of the ancient future, made the decision. Odin stands forth, the master Magus. And interestingly enough, Odin, in context to Tutmos, hailed the original legacy of Kemet, which is rooted the great north to Udinma. You must come to know and understand that the law misappropriated throughout the scavenging script of Judaism, Christianity, Islam, and its correspondence to Satanism and dark Luciferianism and all other religions, fragmented the fire letter codex of every race, tribe, and culture to animism. None will be permitted to enter the land of our birthright unless we know cosmic law, and not the law of the tetragrammaton to Metatronics, but the true law in terms of how things actually work. And Odin needs the breath of the higher force in order to keep perfecting the creation in terms of the supreme sanction of deity. And you will go through hell in order to access the wellspring. All that stands in the way of the destinies of mankind and our birthright, and even the gods and goddesses to be swallowed up in the abyss otherwise. This is what must be remembered, and it's what I've accessed in terms of my personal path work, and is why I make this the focus above all things, symbolized by the Norns and the endless winding thread of fate. Fate that is as much an enigma to the mind, representing the highest states of mind. It is all about your state of mind, and is the concept of the psychic self and the world soul. Loki is excess, a wanton void that can never be filled or satisfied, even if achieved, the god over all other gods. It's absolutely fucking ridiculous. In fact, it's insane. And it's those concepts that continue to devour the hearts and souls of mankind, and is the agenda of the Dark Ones in alignment with the Old Ones to their agendas unfolding in our world in your faces as we speak. As I've been ranting, working to convince all of you that are unwitted. All of this is 100% irrefutable. I'm pretty fucking sick and tired of those that assume truth to not even know the real fucking game that's being played on your mind. And how ancient all of this actually fucking is in terms of the procession of the grand cycle. And Odin is not going to give up the great dream of alignment and the great order of living things. And these living things are the redeemers of the gods and goddesses. And we are that heroic race in terms of the Volsung. We are they here upon the earth that know the difference. And whether you know of these things I speak of, you are being encouraged not to negate anything I am saying. We are going to continue to evolve, and we are going to continue to have things revealed to us as the progression of the original timeline trajectory unfolds. And the Volsung represent pre-Adamite man in terms of the Alpha and the original human codex templating. It is to state also that the Alpha had wings, and is also where the misappropriation in context to angels comes from. That is a misappropriation to the Fae, who also had wings. But as to the fallen minions of Svartalfheim, many of these concepts were crafted through the art of trickery over the ages to keep you from the truth, and is where the parasites sprang forth, again the Sumerian Draconian Empire, in context to the fallen Anu. Elohim. It was a hybridization that took place, as well as the slaughter of the Fae, able to be viewed and read in terms of the Sumerian tablets as fact to our history. And now, with the agendas that are unfolded against the potential to reconnect with the higher force, you can now, even more, know why. In other words, universal mind producing archetypal man. Humanity, not upon this earth as we know it, but upon the world that passed away. A world born up from the heart Rhine and stream of alignment that flows into the river of eternity. The Volsung represent those who produce the heroes of the world. That is who we produce. That is who we are. Man in whom mind is invested, its greatest wealth and its most perfect treasures. And mind carefully and systematically precedes the production of what Nietzsche and Schopenhauer have distinguished the Superman. It is the man planned by absolute mentality. It is the man who is the product of perfect skill. It is the man who is fashioned with absolute efficiency, and is the man who carries himself with inevitable debt of himself. And because Odin invested his own offspring with his own dream, the Volsung can do what Odin could never do, and is why the gods hail us in context. Some would assume that the Volsung perished with Sigurd when he betrayed the rights in terms of cosmic law. But this could be further from the truth, as evidence of the ancestors' awakening continues to manifest and reveal itself in terms of reality. And it's also why these dark fucks are doing what they are, because they know ultimately that this cannot be stopped. And all of this, for every race, must return to the roots of who you truly are and ignite the star core and bring forth that in the face of the illusion you have all been blinded by, to the splitting of consciousness and genetics, and violating the binary fortification of how life is meant to manifest here within our world. This war, as I've stated, is upon your very fucking doorstep. And if you do not have a vehemence otherwise, then you are not truly awakened. If you're sitting on the fucking sidelines, then fuck you. If you're at the very least speaking out against these things and revealing the truth to the world around you, then keep going. All of this bullshit that is designed to destroy the human race, let alone reveal what is past all of these things. Do not stare headlong into the fucking abyss. Focus. Are you not human? Here on Earth, or did you buy the lie that it is less to be where we are? Then you yourself are not human. You're something else, and will have no place in terms of what is meant. You will go down with a burning ship like moths to their inverted and twisted flame, to your devourment. The power of the blue flame is a refiner's fire, and this is a matter of making major corrections in terms of the occult and in terms of the mythos, so that we can catch up the soul cycles and cross this threshold. And it's going to be a question of what you choose to do in action and manifestation in terms of archetypal consciousness when it comes to our blood. And with proper knowledge and wisdom on this platform, it is being corrected. And I am doing this in order to heal the ancestors. And we must slay and bathe ourselves in the blood of the shadow dragon in terms of the alchemical formula, and take back our codes and take back our rights. And whether or not we are burdened with the fate of mortality, it is to reach for that which is immortal otherwise and regardless, because one day there will be a generation that gets it. And all of the efforts that seem to be in vain, nothing is in vain. And what we do now in terms of the ancient future absolutely matters more than you can possibly imagine. If anybody out there is interested in initiation into the mystery school, send me an email at blackearthproductions with an S at hotmail.com. Check out the website at blackearthproductions with a Z.com. Everything is going to be upgraded again, put back forth in terms of the products page. Everything that we had before is still made available. And as for everything, now is the time. Now is the moment to take action in terms of this. Get a hold of me directly. I look forward to speaking to more of you one-on-one very, very soon.